Okay, welcome everybody. This is the Board of Selectmen meeting, a regular meeting on Wednesday, September 20th, 2017. And this meeting is being recorded. It's shown live right now on Channel 9. It will be shown on Channel 9 several times throughout the week. So let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do we have any public input?
Yes, sir, I do have a few items for you.
Yeah.
Is it all right if I go up there?
Yeah, go. Tell us who you are. We know who you are.
Yeah,
I'm sure
I
everybody
don't
knows
mind
who you are.
introducing, and I am a little shy, by the way, but trying to get over that, yeah. Anyhow, Tom Berkwin, 3076 Hunters Hill Drive. First of all, I guess I was looking for some not me personally, but throw some stuff out there for you. Any updates on should I just read it off and then?
Sure, go ahead, one at a time. Yeah.
Town administrator?
I posted something about that on my page.
Okay.
We will.
I didn't look on that.
We should be getting applicants from our consulting firm, and they should be the first week of October. So we should be interviewing right after that.
Thank you. The next thing would be, originally on the fire chief position, I believe there was a range of 10 to 12, but then it might have been whittled down, but I didn't know if you...
We took the top, we scored them. We took the top 6 applicants. One person decided not to interview, and we've just interviewed the 5th one today. So we'll be getting together and narrow that down to a couple of finalists, and then we'll have further interviews.
And on the third item would be any updates on the town annex?
Yeah, I talked to Jim briefly today. We have an electrician, an HVAC person, and what's the third one? Plumbing, under contract, so he should be getting that moving along, because we need to do that. We'll be meeting with him to get a more definitive.
Yeah, I didn't
He's
know
on
if
vacation.
I wasn't sure if the commissioner was coming in, because I remember Selectman Z.
I think that would be best
Selectman
because
Z had mentioned...
we're rolling around on.
I'm not
this
telling you
stuff.
what to do.
It's
Yeah, we'll-
almost been 1 year,
Yeah, we will.
so.
He wrote a report before he went for vacation,
I
and we
know.
had it, but we said we wanted him to come in, so if people had questions, you know.
Yeah, because I remember we had well, not we, but you guys had a meeting, and
Yep.
Selectman Z had mentioned, Zagrafis, had mentioned that, I'd like to see him here, you know, I got a piece of paper, I just remember that, you know. And then off to the, disaster committee, I'm just wondering with all, this thing's lingering this storm.
Well, I'll tell you what happened. We didn't have a full disaster. I met with Tom Ferry, the highway, the fire chief, and the police chief, and we just talked about, you know, where we were and just to assure that they were ready for anything that might occur. And they were very confident and had it
Yeah.
well under control. We do have a very large disaster committee, and we're gonna probably pull a meeting together very soon, because we haven't met since I've been in office, and we probably
I
need to.
mean, I know we have an excellent, our fire, police, EMA, everything's coordinated, I mean, they're right on the, you got your mutual aid, all that, but I had brought it up because
Yep.
this is the worst season I've seen in a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
Chugging along.
Yeah, so we're thinking about it, and we're on top of everything, I believe.
And just one more thing, on the Development Industrial Commission, we're gonna try, and thank you, by the way, for attending. And we will try to get a better, from what I was gathering, a little better flow of communication. You know how stuff flows downhill from this office? I don't wanna say what it is, but it flows downhill. What I'm gonna do is rig something up where I can pump it right up to your office, our stuff, and then we'll have a flow back and forth, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Which I think is fine. I didn't really think it was, I couldn't make the Taste of Dayton, but I think, I also like to thank Rep. Haddad for coming in. She actually enjoyed the Taste of Dayton and came over to our meeting, and I did try to reach out. I don't know if, I did have a conversation
Yeah.
with Karen, so I don't know how that panned out for you. I know Nancy was out of town.
Ms.
I did
Morgan.
make it back in time for the Taste of Dayton, though.
Oh.
I got takeout.
Oh,
I got
Jesus.
takeout from what was left.
Oh, you got some, okay, that's
Oh,
good.
no, my husband wasn't up to it, so, when we got back to town, we
Right.
stayed home. But I did come down, and I got takeout, and, there was still a very good crowd here. But, there were a few empty dishes, let me put it that way. People really,
That's
the
right,
stuff
that's
that
great.
people like.
That's
But
great.
it's always great. They did
Mhm.
such a good job.
We had actually changed our meeting till 6:30 now, so that's why I was there a little after 6:30
Okay.
and another
Good.
member. So we're working on that. We'll work on better, we want to try to work on a better communication with you folks. We'll figure something out.
Yep.
That's all I can do. I mean, she's doing the best she can.
Yep.
She's done a lot of work as
You
far
guys
as
have
the
done, you
chair.
guys have done a good job bringing.
And I really appreciate you coming in there, because that was good, and she had some really good information,
Very helpful. Yeah.
because she's done it with Somerset, but
Oh,
then,
who, Representative Haddad?
with them, yes, with them losing the,
Power
power
plants.
plants, wow, they're really shaking over there. Yeah, I mean, you know,
Yeah,
they're trying to make up some revenue, so.
right.
All right, thank you very much
Okay,
for your
thanks.
time.
Thank you, Mr.
All right.
Portland.
I want to go a little bit out of order to get into new business number G. Mr. Fredette is here to talk about, you want to build a platform down at Broad Cove for bird watching and stuff. And I don't, you have the money in your budget, so let me just read this, just like. Okay, I'm just gonna read what you gave us, the letter. Sure. The Dayton Conservation Commission requests approval to use funds from our account for the construction of an observation platform to be located on our conservation land at Broad Cove. The construction of the platform will be performed by you, Mr. Frenette. If all goes well, we'll apply to use funds from the construction of 3 or 4 more observation platforms. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what it is you want to build and.
Okay, I approached you maybe 6 months ago in passing. I said I was going to apply for a grant.
Yeah.
I did
know that.
twice. God, that's awful. It's an awful way to go. One grant wanted me to pay for everything, do everything, and then they would see if they would approve the amount of, and it was, and the Conservation Commission, we have money in our budget for this sort of thing. So I brought it to the commission, and they all agreed that we should fund the project. So that's what we're gonna do. I'd like to try one, just to see the
guinea pig.
logistics of the thing, see how much work it's going to be, how long it's gonna take me to do it, and, go from there.
So where will the first one be, and what's it gonna look like?
You've gotta,
Broad Cove.
Oh, here we go. It's gonna be at Broad Cove.
the thing about it, Nancy, is
West, which side, west or the railroad bed? Thank you.
we can, actually, they're not, they're set in little concrete blocks. The 4x4s are set in concrete blocks. And we can move them anywhere we want to.
Oh, okay.
You know, we can lift them and move them.
So what's the size of it gonna be?
4x8
4 by
feet,
8? Nice,
with a bench seat inside and sort of a table thing in front of you, that you can put a camera on, or a spotting scope, or your lunch, or whatever. It's being used so much more than I thought it was going to be.
yeah, it's good.
I never go by it when there's not someone in the parking lot down there.
I noticed that too.
I love it. It's really good. And when the highway department finishes what they have to do, what DEP is gonna order the highway department to do some constructing on the old dump. And when that's complete, there'll be good trails from the old trail to the railroad bed.
Excellent, yeah. So you estimated the cost to be about $920. You estimated the cost to be about $920.
That's what the
Yeah.
engineer came up with for me.
Okay. So I really, it's in your budget, it's less than $1,000. So I don't know if we might as well vote on it, but I don't know that we actually have to, but somebody wants to
Yeah,
make.
I will. Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the request of the Conservation Commission to allow them to use funds to construct an observation platform at Broad Cove at an estimated cost of $920.
Second.
Okay. In favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Good, great. I would talk to Jen, Jennifer,
Oh, I have. That's why I'm here.
okay, make sure you get, everything squared with that, and then we'll be good to go. Thank you very much. I think this is
Thank you, Mr. Frenette.
great kind of
Thank
stuff
you.
to do and for everybody. Okay, thank you. Okay. what do we got? Veterans Agent Agreement between Dayton and Berkeley.
Thank you, Ms. Brady.
We talked about this last week, and the only question was, how is the veterans agent paid by Berkeley? And I talked to Don Hershey, our veterans agent, and he actually is paid directly from Berkeley for his salary. So this agreement is that Berkeley will pay Dayton $1,000 for expenses, office-type supplies and that kind of thing, and $3,100 for the secretary's salary.
Oh, so under supplies, does it include gasoline for the vehicle?
That was my
No,
concern.
they don't use our vehicle.
Oh, all right.
We don't
Okay.
do that. That's, I talked to him, I think
Mhm.
if they're interested in that,
Then that's
then
something
then we'll
that's
have to
on-
negotiate
Okay.
that and make sure they cover some of the costs, so.
Well, Mr. Chairman, if you're accepting motions or entertaining
I am.
motions, I'll make a motion that we approve the Veterans Agent Agreement between the towns of Dayton and Berkeley.
Second.
Any further discussion? If none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
What's the total dollars they're gonna pay us?
It's, 31, it's 4,200.
Okay, thank you.
You got 3 signatures on that. Okay, acceptance of the 911 communication, the communication union. We negotiated this contract
Thank
quite
you.
some time ago. We had to make a few corrections, and we had a basis for settlement, and after that was done, then Karen put all the new items into the contract, and I think you both were provided a copy.
Yeah, so this is gotta go to town meeting, because it's
This will
July
go to,
1st.
right, well, the funding for this will go to
Yep.
town meeting.
Yep.
Okay. Accept the motion, if anybody wants to make one.
Sure. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the 911 Communications Union contract as prepared.
Friendly amendment, approved.
Approved. excuse me.
Approved,
It just,
It said acceptance here. Just read.
I mean, there's nothing real hugely significant in here. The salary increase is 2%, which is what we've negotiated for other unions in town, so very minimal, so. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
aye.
Motion carries.
Y'all gonna sign this?
Contract with the town labor attorney.
Thank you, Ms. Brady.
I'll start the discussion. A couple of weeks ago, we've had a contract for last year, from January 1st until June 30th, for Attorney Albert Mason to be our labor attorney. And 2 weeks ago, we voted to accept, to renew the contract for another year. I've had some additional thought about it, and I'm not telling my piece. I don't believe that this is a good expenditure of town funds. We pay Mr. Mason $1,000 a month to answer our labor issues, questions. And I just don't think that, we get a lot of advice also from our town attorney, David Gay's office, which I believe has been pretty good advice, so.
Mhm.
So, I'm suggesting that we terminate, there's a clause in the contract that, with 30 days' notice, either party can terminate the contract. So if we vote to terminate the contract, it would become the termination would be effective at the end of October, because we need to give that 30-day notice. So,
Well, Mr. Chairman, if you're entertaining motions, I'm on record as not wanting to, voting against approval of renewing the contract for the town labor attorney. So I make a motion that we terminate the contract for the town labor attorney that was previously approved 2 weeks ago.
October 1st or October 30th, right?
we just have to give notice by October 1st. If I don't hear a second, I'll step down and second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I just want to clarify something. You said that he was used to answer labor questions. I thought he attended collective bargaining sessions.
Well, that's what I meant. Well, when I say labor questions,
Well, I just think, I don't want anyone to think we were paying him money to sit in wherever he is.
Oh, no.
And answer questions.
Mhm.
He attended a DLR hearing with us. He was involved in grievances. He was the person that attended collective bargaining with Chairman Taylor, because Selectman Zagrafis and I were not at those meetings. So we got more than just questions answered, let me put it that way.
I'd just like to say for the record, I'll state it again, Attorney Mason helped us through a lot of difficult issues that we've confronted over the last year and a half. And my personal belief and why I didn't originally vote for the renewal is because I feel personally like we're on the other shore. I think we've made a lot of strides with the various unions and, the various labor issues we previously had, and I think that, that it's not necessary at this point.
any further discussion?
No,
If none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
no.
The ayes have it, motion carries.
Oh, I thought it was,
Someone's gonna call.
I was thinking, it sounds like an emergency.
It
time,
does.
That's why.
It is, I can't shut it off even if I shut the phone off.
Oh, okay. Well, as long as it's not an emergency.
No, it's not in here.
Okay, good.
I just want to, still under old business, there's just something I want to clarify, make sure people understand. Nancy puts out, and I think it's great on Facebook, kind of a summary of our meetings. We had the discussion last week about the medical marijuana facility, and I believe in your Facebook, you described why you didn't think it was appropriate to have it down in the complex at Alice's, but
Yeah, that was at our meeting.
yeah, at a meeting, right. But then you referred to the ZBA. I just want to clarify that the selectmen will not make a decision about where it goes. And I think I stated this last week, but the selectmen will not make a decision. Our support is for the idea of having a medical marijuana facility. That's one that was proposed. The townspeople at our special town meeting will be the ones to decide whether we have a medical overlay district, which is required in order to put a marijuana facility down at that plaza. So just want to clarify that this will not be our decision alone. This will be, the townspeople have to vote on it, so.
Right, the only thing we were talking about at our meeting was whether or not we would sign the letter.
Right, exactly. Okay, so I just want to make that clear, so. Okay, let's go on to new business. Review the Center Street sidewalk stone wall in front of Bristol County Agricultural High School.
Okay, so where we are with that, last week, last Friday, the contractor, the general contractor for that project, came to town because Mr. Ferry and I and Mr. Braga, and the head of the landscape department at the Aggie School, had done a walk-around, and Mr. Ferry had a list of items that needed to be completed, because initially, when the crew left on, I believe that was Wednesday, we had the impression they thought they were done. Well, in any case, the crew came back on Friday with the gentleman who was in charge, and they finished up the granite work that we pointed out. They raked and reseeded the strip of grass between the sidewalk and the road, except where a homeowner had actually done it himself. They filled in some holes that were left when shrubs were removed. And in the case of the property on the corner, the insurance office there, they did put down some mulch in areas that they had disturbed the mulch. I realized it was old mulch, but in any case, they did put mulch down. And initially, when I talked to the gentleman in charge following our original walk-around, I had asked him to send us an invoice for 80% of the contract, because he had billed it at 95%. And our concerns were that the 5% he was withholding is for the railing that's going to go between the sidewalk and the actual drop where the old railroad bed was. So anyhow, as a result of the work that they did and our reinspection, I told him that I would report back to the board, and that I felt that a new bill in the amount of 90% would be acceptable, because the fence itself is well over $5,000. But in any case, he found that acceptable. Now, as far as what's exactly in front of Gilbert Hall, because a lot of people have said to me, you can't leave it like that. No, that's not the intent. However, when the plans were drawn for that, what was put on part of that would have not completed the whole area. And as you look at it, it starts from the driveway, as soon as you go over the railroad bridge, the little driveway there, all the way down to the next driveway. So it runs the whole front of Gilbert Hall. So in talking to the Aggie School head of landscape, Mr. Braga, the principal assistant director, and the contractor, we have come up with a type of stone that the Aggie School would like to see there. So I will describe it as a fieldstone wall. Now, it will be flat stone. They saw a patio out back at the school that was built a number of years ago, and that's the kind of stone they want. So that project is outside of the contract, but Mr. Ferry said that we do have money in Chapter 90 so that we can take care of that and finish it off. We looked at a number of options, and the original plan also called for some grading from the lawn sloping towards the sidewalk. But as you can see, we would have to remove an awful lot of loam, and rest assured, those red maple trees that are already stressed would probably be lost. Nobody wants to see them go. If Mother Nature takes them, that's fine, but we don't want to do anything to cause problems to, so that their demise is imminent. So anyhow, I should say imminent. So anyhow, yes, that section in front of the Gilbert Hall is going to be finished. The stone has been selected. The contract is going to give Mr. Ferry the additional cost, and we're looking to use Chapter 90 to finish it all. I did hear from some residents on Center Street that live along the affected areas. They were very pleased with what has been done at their locations. They love the sidewalk. I've noticed quite a few people walking, townspeople, so that's good. So.
Well, that sounds like a good solution to that grading problem, because it's pretty steep.
And the only thing, for those who have mentioned it, when you leave the Old Town Hall parking lot and walk towards the sidewalk, because there is a sidewalk that the state put there, there is a stretch of 138 that has no sidewalk. And no, that's not the town, that's the state. And so, no, we can't dig it up and pave it and attach it to the parking lot, because that's how the state left it when they reconstructed that whole intersection and put in the stoplight, so.
Before we move on, I just wanted to thank you.
Oh, you're
You've
welcome.
been doing a great job on this, and I know you've been involved since day one, and I
It's
really appreciate it.
it's been enjoyable working with the people at the school and the neighbors over there. It's really, really positive.
And it's nice,
project.
it's nice when you're done, you have something you can look at and say,
Yeah.
okay, that's done.
Right, and
It looks
something
good.
so many people can
Right,
enjoy for
right.
years to come.
Right, absolutely.
We're gonna name that part of town Nancy J. Goulart Road.
No, I don't think so.
From the bridge on down.
I don't think so.
Okay, our next item is to discuss an increase in passport stipends.
Okay,
There was,
I'll wait for discussion.
there was a proposal put in at budget time, and actually, it was incorporated into the budget that the people in town hall here that help out doing the passports for our residents get a stipend of $25 a week. It had been around $16 a week. So I guess, and I'm trying to get a handle, we had all approved that and signed the document that said we verified the passport agent was increased to $25 a week effective July 1st, 2017. But we just want to make sure, because we don't all recall it, and I don't remember when we actually did it, but, so that's what this is about. We get $25 on each from the people that are getting the passports, and we do quite a large number every week, so the town doesn't lose money on this, we actually make money on this. And the problem we have now is we have just two people that are doing them. One of the people that was decided not to, so anyways, that's where we're at, that's what the discussion is about, and I would entertain a motion
To approve the thing we already approved?
Yeah.
Why would we do that?
because we don't have a record of when this was approved.
We're looking at the record.
No, but
This
but
is
we
not
don't,
a record?
but we don't know if it was done in open meeting, because we can't find the open meeting that was done at, so, just to cover our bases and,
I can tell you why it was questioned, and I'm still waiting for information. Back in 2008, when this was put in, we've been keeping a running tab of how much money we've taken in.
Mhm.
And what the part that's missing is, of the money taken in, what are the expenses? So I asked the town accountant before she went on vacation to give me a P&L statement on the program. And she gave me some data, but I don't have all the expense data. For example, I'll just give you this quickly. The first time we did it, we took in a little over 6,000, the next year $6,000, the next year it dropped to 4,700.
but let's be clear, we're talking about FY '08, '09. The latest,
Yeah, but-
most recent stuff here is only FY '14.
No, I'm looking at income here. That's what I'm saying. I don't have all the data,
I
but
know, but
we had it, we actually had one year that hit $11,000. Then we had a 9,900, FY '17, 9,900. So what I said to her is, well, you have good track of the income coming in. All I'm asking for is the rest of it for the P&L. We should be able to say to townspeople, this is how much we've taken in year-to-date, this is how much year-to-date has been expended, and this is the net to the town. That way, when they look at it, because we have had salary increases periodically. I think they gave them the 2%, like
Right.
the contracts were getting.
Right.
But in any case, in looking at the whole thing, since we've been into this for so long, and since we're down to only 2 people, the question was, can you give me the rest of it? So
Well,
we have a P&L that this board will say, we'll have it. Anyone questions what it is? Here's the whole thing. That's what we're trying to put together.
But we've been working on this for a long time. I'm not sure what the holdup is, but just if we look at FY '14, where it's gotten much, much busier since then, we took in $6,400 for passports and almost $1,400 for pictures. So, and we
And what were the expenses?
$1,500.
No,
The 2 employees.
no, you've got to remember, in addition to your labor
No,
expense,
okay, but
You've
let's
got-
be clear what I just said.
postage,
Just let's be clear what I just said. The 2 employees amount to an expense of $1,500 for the year. So the difference we have here is about $6,300 to the good in 2014. Now, I can't believe that we're spending anywhere near $6,300 on film and anything
okay,
like that.
but when as I said, I got all the income here.
Right.
We don't show the costs for the camera. The camera was the major expense. The camera itself.
I understand
But
that.
that, isn't that a
So all
one-time
I'm saying
expense?
It's
is,
a one-time expense.
that's why I'm looking for a year-to-date P&L. In other words, the program began here, and they know exactly what the income is. All I'm saying now is you know labor cost, you know camera cost, you've got to do the postage thing, the supply thing. And Jen says, that's the only thing I'm waiting for, and she told me she had contacted people who either did the job before, that would have the data, so that's all I'm looking for,
Well,
is just to wrap up the P&L.
All I'm saying is, I think we're spending a lot of time getting information. It's not gonna change the outcome, because like in the latest year we have records is FY 14.
Jack, the
We
other
made,
part,
let me just finish. We are ahead $6,000. It's only got busier since 2014. We have, we had agreed to it in the budget, it went in the budget. We had agreed by signing this memorandum in July 26, 2017, and I think we need to move on with this, because we've already lost one person because they were under the impression that they were gonna get this increase, and they didn't. We're about to lose
that's
another
not
one.
what she said when she resigned.
Well, and we're about to lose another one for the same reason.
But the fact
So-
of the matter is, when you look at a $16 and change weekly rate, which has been paid for a bit, and you go to 25, the question is, how do you increase that much without some kind of explanation? And I said, easiest way to do it is get the P&L, because the data should be readily available.
We're talking $8 a week per employee. I mean, I think we're,
My concern is we're not gonna have anyone to do it, and we're gonna lose even the $6,000 in revenue.
that's exactly right, because
So-
we're about to have no one to do it. And I think we already agreed to it back here. I'm not sure why it's still in question
Actually,
now.
the data I'm asking for should have been presented when the budget was being formulated.
But you signed this, as
Yeah,
I did, and so did
Well, when I went
Brett.
back and looked at the budget, what I saw was that number got changed when you came on the board. That was not the number that was on the original budget, because you changed it, increased it, and initialed it.
Did you
and-
see the budget?
I saw the worksheets that Jen had, that you
Okay.
turned into her.
Okay.
So that's why this all came up.
This was July 26th, long after the budget was passed. The budget was passed over a month
June,
earlier.
yeah.
It was town meeting, it was the
Right.
amount of the increase that was being questioned. If you go from 16,000, which is, and then add another 8 to it, you're at 25, and that was the question.
My concern is
Do I
this.
have my paper back? I'll keep it
Yeah.
this folder.
My concern is this. We make decisions to do something, and then we go back and we start questioning the whole process. And I think one of the frustrations that I have, and I think a lot of people in town have, is we need to make decisions and move on to the next thing, because I find myself, and I find us, spending so much time going back to things that we don't have to go back to. Once we agree to it, we need to move forward.
Well, I think if I had known the budget had changed after we had our budget meeting here, okay? In all honesty, when we sit here and discuss department budgets, I don't go back and see if when we go to town meeting, every budget line matches what we said at that meeting. That budget number got changed after we met here, but before we went to town meeting.
But you signed this document that says we all agreed, the memo is to verify that the stipend for passports agent was increased to $25 a week, July 1st, 2017. That was signed on July 26, 2017. We discussed it, we made a decision about it, and now we just need to move on.
And when the question came up, I said, what did we budget?
The
And
question came up from who?
it came up from accounting, and it came up from some residents when we signed that. How can you give,
I
in
don't
all
know,
honesty, how can you give certain employees, because names don't matter, certain employees an $8 increase, because people look at percentages.
because that's a
Because
decision we
they're the
made.
ones that are doing the passports.
That's a decision we
The ones who don't
made.
do passports don't get the extra $8.
The other thing I'm very
Well, the other question was, in the past, we would give them the 2% that was in the contract, and the question was, why didn't they get what you've done over the years? I said, I've gotta look into it.
Why
I've
are
gotta
the
see
com-
what we budgeted.
But
I
let me,
apologize.
I'm
My
gonna,
question is, why are the questions being asked
Right.
a month and a half after? Like, we should be asking the questions before, if they even exist. Is
one
just-
thing that I'm
I think.
bothered by also.
I feel like Bill Murray and Groundhog Day
Yes.
sometimes.
I know where a lot of these questions originate from the town accountant, and I appreciate her diligence, but it is not the town accountant's job to question the decision that this board makes unless there is some Mass General Law violation or there's a miscalculation. But it's not the town accountant's job to question the decision that this board makes. Now, I'm always appreciative of anybody coming forward and say, you know, why'd you guys do this? But not to then go back to the extent that you're going now, to use her time, your time, and our time to try and justify
It's the
something that we,
easiest way to explain it, because you've got
that we've already
facts and
made the
figures,
decision.
but not based on anything. I'm looking for, here it is, folks.
You signed it, Nancy, we all signed it, I think we need to
That's when I
move on.
found out you had changed the budget
I
after we
didn't
had our meeting. And you
I
did.
did,
Your initials are on it, Jack.
okay, if I did, it was, I didn't do it, believe me, I don't do things like that independently.
And I will also say that the town accountant has the right to question any decision.
She has the right to question the decision if she can't, if she cannot justify the calculation, or it violates some law. She has, any person in the town has a right to ask us about it. But it is not her job to question things that we have agreed to.
I will say that
Unless there's a violation.
the information I requested is public information.
Yep.
And in fact, I've put it in writing formally, I will. I don't think I should have to go to
Okay.
that. But when that information is made available, that we
Okay.
can say to the people of Dayton, regarding the passport program, this is where we stand. This is data from day one. This is where we are.
I guess I would like
Over and
to,
done
I
with.
would like to entertain a motion. I know, Brett, and I agree that we shouldn't have to do this, but in light of the controversy over this, I think I would like to reiterate that, that's a decision that we made and we stand behind, I guess. is-
Well, Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion to honor the memorandum signed by all three selectmen dated July 26, 2017, to increase the stipend for passport agents to $25 a week, which was effective July 1st, 2017, and was also included in the fiscal year 18 budget.
I'll step down and second that. I'd like to say one other thing. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that is really bogging down our town government. We're talking about a difference of $8 a week. We have a multi-million-dollar budget here that we need to focus on, and I find myself spending time focusing on this kind of thing rather than on the $9 million or $8 million, whatever the total is, that the town takes to run. And that's where I'm coming from, so I'll step down and second that. Any further discussion?
I'm going to vote no, and only because I feel that I've made a request for public information. It's being worked on. I certainly didn't want her to not take her vacation. And I will continue to ask for the information, and when it's made public, it will be made public, and we'll go from there. But I don't think it's wrong to question things. When I saw that the budget had been changed after the meeting, and I didn't see it until after town meeting, after we had signed this, and the question came up, and I said, I didn't know it was increased. You know what? Let's just get a P&L from day one, and then we'll know exactly where we stand.
And we're wasting the accountant's time, your time, my time, Brett's time. And the other thing I want to say is, there was no attempt to put something, change something in this budget, which is kind of been being implied here, to do something undercover. Absolutely not. I don't operate that way. I will never operate that way. And I just want to be clear to the townspeople and anybody listening, that's how we do business. We do it above board. There was no intent to change something behind the scenes, and all three of us
What I
signed
said
this
was-
document. So
What I said
let's move
was,
on.
I certainly didn't accuse you of doing that, because I just said to you, when I saw it, you had initialed
I'm
it.
not,
So,
okay, if you didn't accuse
I
me,
saw
that's
that.
fine. I just want to make it clear to
but
people that
getting
that's
back
not
to
what
the
happened.
town budget, I just want people to know, for the most part, the Board of Selectmen does not spend hours and hours trying to manage the $9 million plus budget we have. We have very competent, qualified people who do it on a daily basis, whether it's a department head, whether it's the accountant, the treasurer, everybody. And when, for the most part, when budget questions come to us, it's like Mr. Burnett came today. We would like to spend it. Can we do this? Will you vote to allow us to do it? We look at it and say, yes, we can. But we don't spend our time managing town budget. As a matter of fact, free cash just got certified at over $2 million, similar to last year.
And I
And
would,
we can thank our department heads and everyone else that day to day manage the operations of this town.
Well, I
I'm
totally
not-
agree with you. We don't manage the town budget every single day, but what I also don't think we should do is manage an $8 increase in passports to death, or overmanage or micromanage, whatever verb you want to use at that point. I think it's unnecessary, and I feel like we wasted, 30 minutes
It's
tonight.
not managing.
Let me
I made a
just-
request for public information.
I want to say one other thing. It is our responsibility. Ultimately, it is the responsibility of the selectmen. We have the fiduciary responsibility to protect the assets of this town. That is our ultimate responsibility.
Absolutely.
It doesn't go any far above that. So you say we don't manage it. We
On a
need to
day-to-day basis,
we need to
we
manage
don't.
it more closely, and we need to spend more time doing budgets and working with department heads, so we don't have $2 million cash back. We gave back $1 million last year because we were over budget in so many categories.
But
We need to spend more time, and I intend to spend more time doing that, because
when we,
that's it.
when we get the summary of how money was returned, I think you're going to be surprised to see is the amount of money that is not directly related to the operation of the budget.
That's correct.
Back when there was an interim superintendent, and the methodology for assessing the town of Dayton was discovered, and he said henceforth it will be statutory unless the town votes differently. I said at the time when that happened, I hope everyone realizes this is not a one-time windfall. This is something that Dayton is gonna have to manage, meaning,
We're all aware of that,
money.
and we're doing that.
and on the other side of the coin, Rehoboth is dealing with the other side. So, again, I will thank everybody in this town that has done a great job running their departments, but it's not all over taxation or anything else. But the breakdown will come out after the
Okay.
accountant gets back, and we'll have the details of the sources that led to over $2 million in
Mr. Chair,
certified free cash.
I apologize, Selectman
All
Goulart.
in-
Before we take this vote, I'd just like to thank our passport agents
Absolutely.
who continue to do their job with pride and distinction while all of this, what I'll call nonsense, was going on. So I appreciate it, and thank you so much.
And this is a service to our residents, that if it goes away from here, you're gonna have to go someplace else to get your passports, and this is much better than going to Fall River or
Fall River can't do it.
whoever. It's not gonna be in a small town setting like this where you can come in, get it done, and
Seekonk
move
is
on.
the closest
You won't
one, I
get to see
think.
Karen.
So anyway, so that being said, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries. Okay, passport hours, this is another concern, because, do we have a proposal, or, that we talked about a little bit? The issue is, and Karen, correct me if I'm wrong, but the issue is that we now have just one person doing it, other than Karen. Karen also steps in and helps out. But the problem is that it's done during the day, but it's also done on Wednesday night. And right now, we're doing them from 6 to 8? 6 to 8, with one person, so if there's
Is
a,
it one night a month?
Two.
Second Wednesday of the
Mhm.
month.
One night a
Just
month,
one.
okay.
so, for example, right now, if there's we're past 8 o'clock, but if there's passports to be done, a lot of them, Karen's in here tied up with us, so the person gets no help. So what I would entertain a proposal to change that availability from, instead of from 6 to 8, to make it from 4:30 to 6:30, or 5 to 7.
Yeah, I think it was discussed to go straight through till 7 o'clock.
Straight 2 till 7? Okay. So I think at the current time, because we only have one person doing it, that would make a lot of sense.
Do you and the other person, you alternate on, no, you can't alternate
She
on
can't,
Wednesday.
that's
What
it.
about the summertime? We're not,
Yep.
can't do it in the summer either. It has to be on a meeting night, right?
Yeah, I can't really help her with meeting minutes now at this point, but if the hours were adjusted a little bit, I could help her the whole time.
Are we gonna advertise for another person if there's interest?
Well, absolutely.
That was discussed
Yeah.
today.
We'll have
Would is it possible that the employee who resigned would be willing to
I
come
don't know.
back once the
Good.
stipend
I would
is
like to
in
talk to
place?
her, I would like to talk to her about that.
Yeah.
But we gotta get this, now that we got the stipend issue out of behind us, I think we can. So I would entertain,
I just wanted to ask one question before making any motions. Would increasing, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, would increasing, or putting the hours from 5 to 7 PM affect people who might come between 7 and 8? Like, do a lot of people
It
come
may,
between
but
7
we
and 8?
kinda felt like people would be out of work at that time.
Okay, so you,
Before
okay.
seven, but, I
And
not sure.
you discussed this, it sounds like, so.
I mean, I think that
It does need
between-
feedback.
between Karen and Valerie, if somebody had a real problem and they couldn't get here till after 7, we're pretty accommodating in most cases, so I think
Yeah,
we could discuss individual
I'm
case,
sure that we
in-
could accommodate.
individual cases, right? So, but now, for now, I would like to change it to
So
go
it's only
straight-
Wednesday hours, one Wednesday a month, the hours would change, and the new hours would be,
straight to,
We thought straight through till 7
7.
o'clock.
anybody?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we change the passport hours on the one Wednesday a month from 5 PM to 7 PM.
I'll second the motion. What are the hours now for, right now, during the day? What days of the week and what are the hours?
Right now, Monday to Thursday, 9 to 2,
Okay,
and second Wednesday of each month, 9 to 2, and then 6 to 8 p.m.
Okay. So the only thing that's changing is that 2-hour window in the evening, that one
It's the
Wednesday.
only time
Okay.
I'm not able to assist.
Mhm.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
I will put that on the website, thank you.
I guess, let me skip the next one and move on to the discussion of the open meeting law. The open meeting law, I read it 3 or 4 times this week. The open meeting law is, the purpose of it is, I think everybody knows, it's very strict and detailed, and the purpose of it is to have open government and transparent government. And I know when I was running for this position, one of my commitments was we would abide by the open meeting law. Sometimes, I'll be honest with you, sometimes it's very hard, because in strictest sense, any deliberation or opinion that any one of us offers to the other, if it's not posted as an open meeting, is a violation of the open meeting law. And so, there's not things like, let's schedule a meeting for this, or let's do that, but if any of us express an opinion to the other one, to any of the other two, that's a violation unless we posted it. The other thing that's always a tricky thing is, that not only goes for verbal communication, but that goes for electronic communication. So I'm just gonna read this. The expression of an opinion on matters within the body's jurisdiction to the quorum of a public body, which a quorum is 2 in this case, even if no other public body member responds. Okay, so in other words, if I send something to Brett, he doesn't respond to it, and Nancy doesn't respond to it, if I express an opinion, it's still a violation of the open meeting law. So I just want people to be aware of that and to know that. The other thing that is significant in the law is executive session. Now, we have executive sessions when necessary. There's actually 10 reasons why you can have an executive session, and I'm not gonna go through all of them. But they basically boils down to, if the deliberation, before we go into executive session, we have to say why we're going into executive session and what the topic is. Basically, anything that, if we did it in public, could jeopardize either collective bargaining, discipline issue, contract negotiation, litigation, that kind of stuff. If it would jeopardize the outcome of that, then we can go into executive session. So I just wanted to put that on the table so that people are aware of it, we're aware of it, and we work on it to make sure that we abide by it.
Do you mind if I add something?
Please do.
I just want to be clear for people watching. When Chairman Taylor says express an opinion, he doesn't mean if he sends me an email and says, I really enjoy this weather today, it's really nice out. That is totally okay.
The weather's not within our jurisdiction, let's be clear about that. So,
It's things
Yeah.
pertaining to our authority.
right, exactly.
Sure. Sure.
I understood that, I think, Chairman Taylor, you actually went to a meeting in Boston in regards to that new, I believe.
New open meeting law, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you expressed that that was coming down.
Right.
That is interesting, and with all this technology that's going on, good to know that.
Yeah. Because that, I mean, yeah, that not only applies to us, that
Oh, that's
applies,
all.
that applies to all boards and committees in
yeah,
the
yeah.
town, so.
Now, on the other thing, I was curious, I understood from the Madam Clerk, that one day you mentioned, with that new, the other new law, as you call it, Madam
I do.
Sue. The other thing was the new guidelines that come down for requesting information.
Public records law.
Right.
That's it. So now I understand also you can get, if you follow the proper timeline, even executive session, correct?
Well-
Certain things
Well, executive session,
might be redacted or,
once the purpose of the executive session is over,
that's what I mean.
then they become public records. So for example, if we're negotiating a contract,
Yeah.
once the negotiation is done and the contract is signed, then it becomes public record. Okay, I just want to make it clear.
But
because-
the board individually has to vote to release the minutes of
Absolutely.
the date.
Right.
Because if it were litigation and it's ongoing,
Right.
it can't be released until the whole thing is resolved.
As the same as, similar to HIPAA
Exactly.
Yes.
rules, so.
Yes.
Yep.
That kind of thing.
Knowledge is good for that, yeah.
Every year, MMA has workshops on open meeting law and public records law. And back in the day, when they first came out, they weren't bad. But now, that was part of the discussion we had at MMA last Friday because of the clerks that were complaining about. One clerk actually received a request for 1,000 different records. As 1,000 individual requests, she could not combine them.
Tough.
So government is trying to be open and transparent. It just a little tedious sometimes. Okay, let's move on. The other thing, other issue we were going to talk about, processing for firefighter, police officer, fit for duty, exam use and determination. And I think, I'd just like to have a discussion about the process that we will use in our town on how we do this kind of thing.
You mean past, what was done in the past? 'Cause
No,
I
I'm talking
haven't
about
had-
how we're gonna go forward.
Did,
Okay.
without any
Yeah.
details, did the situation get resolved while I was out
No,
this week?
no.
Whoever was supposed to make the decision somewhere hasn't done it
No,
or
we-
hasn't told us?
The decision is our decision. That's what I wanna talk about.
Yeah,
We,
if I may,
yeah, go
the
ahead.
attorney stated that, Attorney Mason did send a long email and I did read it. He stated that we, this board, Treasurer Hathaway, the employee, would have to meet and make that, with
Oh,
town
okay.
council and
I
make that
didn't- I didn't get
determination.
through my emails, needless
It would
to
be a
say.
hearing, it would be a
Okay.
hearing in
Okay.
an executive session, so.
Mhm.
And the concern I always have is, I've been in healthcare for a long time, you know, HIPAA, when you start to request medical records, you get into all kinds of potential problems and liabilities around HIPAA about disclosing information, about keeping records of who you've disclosed it to, and that kind of stuff. And because we're not a medical facility, and we don't have medical credentials to evaluate,
Hey, I do.
and we don't have medical credentials to,
He's a doctor.
And a healthcare expert now.
yeah, but anyway, and since we don't have the ability to, because we don't have the credentials to evaluate what a doctor does, my position is that if we get a physician who, particularly if we've requested him to review fitness for duty, for example, and we've given him the job description, and he has all the past medical records, when that decision comes back to us, it says fit for duty, I don't think we have any basis to evaluate that any further, other than to accept the fact that he, as the professional who has the background and the knowledge, says fit for duty, that we accept that as fit for duty. In the same respect, if a person goes out and is determined to be not fit to return to duty, then again, you know,
Then they're not fit.
then
based
they're
on
not,
the
and
expert.
I don't think we want to get into medical
So
records.
do we, I agree completely, but I think also as a board, I can only speak from past experience. Let me just say, in the past, without violating anyone's rights of privacy or anything else, let me me just say, we didn't have to follow up, it was very clear that if it was a yes, it was a yes, and if it was a no, it was a no. And in this particular case, this is the first time we've used this service. So do we have to meet or not?
We have to.
We do.
So we do?
We do.
Yeah, we do, because we are ultimately the decision makers to say the person was fit or wasn't fit based on something. And there's more to this, there's more to it than that.
Right,
This
and
is-
we don't want to get into
We're not gonna
that.
get into any of the details, so, I mean, I think what we need to do, we'll have a hearing with all the people involved in any case, not any case in particular, but any case, before we would make a determination that, either fit for duty or not fit for duty, and what goes along with that. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. And I will tell you this is a change, because when I was here before, and since I came back, we have never held one of these
Right.
hearings. So this is something new.
How was it done before?
Well, there's two-
Oh,
there's
the
a-
paper,
we're
the
talking
paper
police-
came in.
We're talking about police and fire only, though.
Yeah, I am too. If a person is out, whether injured on the job or a personal injury, after so many days, you have to get the doctor's note, and again, there's time periods involved. And if they're out after a certain number of days, in addition to the note from the personal physician, the town would say, we want you to go see, and we had a service
Right.
with MDs there, or PAs, whatever. Whatever came back, if the two of them matched,
Right. Correct.
they came back, the person came back to work. If there were ever a question, and one was a yes and one was a no, we would have to have a hearing, but we've never held a
Well,
hearing.
that would be a third opinion. Again, in that case, we'd get a third opinion from somebody.
All right, but we've never had to go to the hearing,
So
is what I'm saying.
There's two things. There's, police and fire are governed by different rules. If a town employee in the clerk's office gets hurt, it's workers' comp.
Right,
The police and fire is something called 111F, and it's handled differently. And from what I've learned here in the last week or so, is, and what we try to talk to the people that manage this, they won't make a determination. That's the responsibility of, in this case, the selectmen.
right.
And so that's where I think we are, and that's where we just
Okay.
want to make sure we're all on the same page
Right,
about that. kind of
and
stuff.
we have had 111Fs in the past, and it was all based on the, I'll call them the two reports that came in.
Right.
Personal and the physician that we brought in, okay?
Yep.
So if we're gonna have a hearing, we'll have a hearing, but as long as we got, creditable data.
Yeah, exactly, okay. Okay, we don't need to vote or anything, I just want
Okay.
to make sure we're all on the same
Well,
page.
I just
when
want
we
to
do-
say, the reason why I agree with you too is simply because I liken this, I know it's a different, these are very specific in different circumstances, but I liken this to when we take a recommendation from a department head, I'm not asking them to give me like a report on the person. So if a medical expert tells me, two medical experts, I should say, both tell me yes, I'm okay with that. I really am.
I think what's unfortunate is there's been this time gap, because the person we
Absolutely.
would have used said,
Yep.
Right.
that's not my area.
Right, right,
Mhm.
exactly.
Maybe
Exactly.
another thing is we need to locate I'll call them a group of physicians, that if we say we need somebody examined, they're gonna say we get somebody to do that, and we don't have a big gap
Well,
of time.
There,
And
I
use the
mean,
same
well,
the same group, you mean?
we
going
do,
forward?
we do have a group that we use for that. In this case, we also got an opinion from South Coast Health Group, and they have occupational health physicians,
Mhm,
but that's what they do.
mhm.
So that's a good resource, but I wouldn't disagree with you. Maybe we need to, formalize that more so we know exactly what
So
we're gonna
that
do.
when we call in and say, we need somebody examined, and here's the data, and they say, we have so-and-so to do that, and we just get it set up,
Right.
so that,
Mhm.
Okay, that's good. Okay, the firefighter union contract. I think I'll leave it to you, Nan. I know you have some concern about it, and
I just want to be able to sign it. What happened was, I was just looking at my book again. On the day that meeting was held, I was told it was CBCU, that's collective bargaining for the clerical union, which means I don't go to that
no,
meeting.
we're not talking about, this is a firefighter contract.
I know it, but it was at that meeting that you voted and signed it.
Signed Okay, the process is this.
And I wasn't here, and I felt badly because I didn't know it was coming up, number one. I didn't have problems with the negotiations or the final contract. And when I realized the final contract had been signed, and I hadn't signed it,
No, wait a minute, no.
I just wanted them to know, hey, I'm not against your contract.
No, the clerical union contract has not been signed.
No, I'm talking about firefighters.
Okay, well, you were talking
No,
about.
no, the message that I got on that particular, what I was told,
I think she's saying she was.
I
she
was
thought it
told
was
the
wrong-
You
meeting
thought-
that day was
Oh, I see what you're saying.
CBCU, so I didn't attend,
Right.
okay? So when I found out it had been signed, it was approved and signed, and I wasn't there, that's when I said, that was an executive session. I'd like to do that in open session so I can sign that contract.
Let me-
And
let
I
me-
did speak to Mr. Maderas and say, I just want you all to know, I agree with the contract. I didn't get to sign it, and I would like to sign it.
I think that was inappropriate myself, but that's, the process is this. When
What
we
was
nego-
inappropriate? My contacting Mr. Maderas?
When you told him, I mean, what he said to me is, you told him you don't have a legal contract. That's what,
I'm gonna go back to the past again, because that's what I've got. In the past, all bargaining takes place in executive session.
correct.
When the contract is finalized, which is what we did tonight here, and we get copies of it, we vote to approve it in open session and we sign it. That's all I wanted done.
Okay, let me just speak to that.
We didn't do them in executive session.
Well, yes, we did. Well.
No, I'm
okay,
talking
okay,
historically.
Let me tell you what happened. Normally what happens is, we negotiate a contract. Once we all agree to what the, in these cases, I put together a MOA, memorandum of agreement, with the union, that these are the things we've agreed to. We sign that in executive session.
Yeah.
Because until that is signed, there's not yet agreement, and it could come up where we wanna talk about something or change something.
Yeah.
In the case of the firefighters, the contract had been negotiated for a long, long time. We never went to an MOA in the case of the firefighters. We went straight to a contract. So, as far as I'm concerned, we met in executive session until that contract was signed.
That's not what the minutes said, because I've got them. And I've got the posting notice. That's why I just want to be able to vote it in open session and not get, I'm very concerned about the open meeting law. And all I'm saying is, all I want is that we vote to approve the contract with the firefighters in an open session. And you can't change the minutes, you
The law-
can't change the posting.
What the open meeting law says, that once, or you sign a contract, at the next session, you have to declare the contract's been signed, because at that point, it's a public document. And I believe we did that. And so there was no intent to do anything in executive session to keep it behind the woods. We
My
tried to-
concern would be if Selectman Goulart is correct, then every contract we signed before you joined the board is now incorrect.
Right.
That's my concern.
No, the only one we had a question on was highway, and I asked how that was done, and I haven't gotten an answer.
Okay.
It was done in executive session.
Then we'll vote that one too.
No, I'm not gonna revote anything here unless,
What concerns me is I didn't know you were going to do it because I could have been here for that.
Nancy,
And I didn't get a chance to sign it. I'm an elected official, equal to you guys, whether you like it or not, and I should have signed that contract on the day it was being approved. Right now, that document sits there without my signature, and anyone looking at it is probably saying, oh, she's against the firefighters. That is not true, not at all.
business of the government cannot stop because one of us is not available.
It did when you were on vacation for 2 weeks, which neither one of us have taken yet.
Wait a minute, whoa, no, it did not stop. It was during the summer schedule. I took a week's vacation during a period when.
And when Brent and I met to take care of an issue, that's all we strictly did, and you knew
Okay.
what we were doing. All I'm saying is I would like to be informed.
And I would like you to be informed, and
Well, no, not like to be, I should have been informed.
you were informed of the meeting. I don't know what else to say about it, but I don't think.
I always note in the book what it is.
Okay, I think this is.
CBCU.
Okay. I want to move on.
Am I
because-
going to be allowed to sign that contract in open session?
We don't need to sign that contract in open session.
Am I going to be allowed to sign that fire
wanna sign the
contract in
contract-
open session?
If you want to sign the contract, you can sign the contract. That's up to you.
Could I have the contract now and I will sign it? And I will put the date and my signature on it. All of this discussion about the open meeting law and the public records law and all that other stuff, I'm glad we had it tonight. I have serious concerns.
Well, I think you need to, I mean,
I just have one quick question. Don't we all get the same events calendar? That's what
Yeah,
I'm
we do.
confused. How did she get that? I just
and
don't
we all got,
understand what
and we
calendar
all
she
got the contract, because Karen sent the contract to each one of us. So we all had the contract and had the opportunity to read it.
I didn't say I didn't read it. When I got it, it had been signed, and I said, hey, wait a minute, how come I didn't sign it? That's when I found out through the minutes when it got signed. Yeah, we get this, this
Well,
thing.
let's move on here, if you want to sign that.
And if you notice, I updated it. I update it as we go along.
Sure,
Pencil things, and then I said to Karen, add this to it or add that to it.
okay. So can we move on now, or? Okay, the next thing is a road opening permit for Columbia Gas at 354 Jennifer Lane.
Thank you.
I'm sick of talking.
Karen, would you see that the union gets a copy of this signed page, please? Thank you.
I just wanted to add, I do enjoy working with you, Selectman Goulart, and I'm glad you're a part of this board.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
This is nothing.
And I just want to say one thing to the firefighters. As I said the other night when we were celebrating at the North Station, I know what you went through. I know that you pulled together, and I support you 100%, and I certainly support everything you did, and there is no way I was going to sit here tonight and let you think I didn't sign that contract because I was opposed to it. That is not the truth. I
No.
have signed it and I have dated it.
I don't think that was ever a thought in anybody's mind, certainly not anybody in this board. So, anyways, we're done. We got it.
Mr. Maderas explained to me that he was told the situation with my husband's health, and that was true.
That was true, right?
But I said to him, I understand that, but my point is, as an elected official, I should have had the opportunity to sign it. It's that important. So anyhow, yes, it's signed, and yes, it's behind us.
We'll try to keep it from happening again.
Okay. So we have a letter dated September 20th, 2017. It says, permission is hereby granted for a road cut at the following location with all necessary appurtenances. Install new gas service, 354 Jennifer Lane. Whenever possible, pipes are to be jetted under the roadway. Any unsuitable material will be replaced with gravel and 2 layers of 2-inch compacted asphalt for a total of 4 inches of asphalt. All gravel to be compacted in 12-inch layers. The road is to be placed back in the same or better condition as when the project started. Highway superintendent must be notified within 72 hours of work. That is our highway superintendent, Mr. Thomas Ferry. So, Mr. Chairman, if you're entertaining motions, I will make a motion to approve the road opening permit for Columbia Gas at 354 Jennifer Lane.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Next.
We'll give this to Selectman Goulart. I'm losing my voice.
You do
too.
these, I'll do the
Okay.
the warrants and
That-
Okay, Brett, I'll do,
you're on a roll, Brett.
I'll do the last one.
Okay. Also dated September 20th, 2017, Columbia Gas in Massachusetts. Permission is hereby granted for a road cut at the following location with all necessary appurtenances. Install new gas service at 376 Center Street. Whenever possible, pipes are to be jetted under the roadway. Any unsuitable material will be replaced with gravel and 2 layers of 2-inch compacted asphalt for a total of 4 inches of asphalt. All gravel to be compacted in 12-inch layers. The road is to be placed back in the same or better condition as when the project was started, and the highway superintendent must be notified within 72 hours of work. I feel like those radio people that do the terms and conditions. So, Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion that we approve the road opening permit for Columbia Gas at 376 Center Street.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries also. Okay, here I go. This is from the Highway Department, or the Board of Selectmen, actually, to Columbia Gas. Permission is hereby granted for a road cut at the following location with all necessary appurtenances,
Pertinences?
whatever. Replace gas service at 218 Rose Terrace. Whenever possible, pipes are to be jetted under the roadway. Any unsuitable material will be replaced with gravel and 2 layers of 2-inch compacted asphalt for a total of 4 inches of asphalt. All gravel will be compacted in 12-inch layers. The road is to be placed back in the same or better condition as when the project was started.
Mr.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Good. Okay, moving right along. The big announcement we have tonight, under announcements, is and I'll let Nancy expound on this, but the town is gonna have a signing ceremony here for our acceptance or entrance into the Community Compact Cabinet. We're gonna do that at Town Hall on Tuesday, October 3rd at 9 o'clock. There will be food, so if anybody wants to come down and partake,
Okay, I'll be there.
and
He's
just
taking
be,
the day off.
and just be part of the whole thing, it's a pretty big deal, and I'll let Nancy explain more about what it's all about.
We talked about this at the MMA meeting on last Friday, too. The Community Compact Cabinet is a designation that communities, 301 communities so far, I think we're the 301st, have gotten by submitting best practices to the committee that looks at this. Once it's determined that a community has earned it with the proposal for best practices, the lieutenant governor actually goes to the community and signs it. So she's made a lot of visits to a lot of communities. So, again, it's October 3rd, 9 o'clock here at Town Hall. It's open to the public. And if you'd like to come by and say hello to the lieutenant governor and just be here for it. We think this is the first time we've had somebody from the executive branch, of a sitting executive branch, to come to town. I don't remember candidates we've had, but I don't remember the real thing.
So we must have a nice turnout.
And the other thing I want to mention, at the MMA meeting, I gotta tell Sue about this. When I told you about the clerk in the Marshfield, they got 1,000 requests and couldn't combine them, and this was from an organization, evidently this has been happening around the state. One of the things she did in order to be able to deal with requests of that size, she found software that would allow her to address it. And so she has the software, she gave me the name, and I thought, well, I gotta tell Sue when we get this designation, she might wanna consider, because the funding came from the compact.
Oh, wow.
It was $6,500 that this town clerk got, and they call her the queen of public records.
I believe Sue got a very similar request. Hundreds of them.
Years going back.
Oh, ridiculous. And anyhow, this town clerk said she was able to do it, and when she said she got it with state money, compact money, everybody clapped. But it's not only that kind of money, but there is money available that this will be a plus for.
I believe also, correct me if I'm wrong, Selectman Goulart, I believe Representative Pat Haddad is also, will likely
She
be in
has
attendance.
confirmed, and last thing I heard, Senator Pacheco was looking to make a change in his schedule, so he's gonna try to be here.
Nice, fantastic.
I invited Dr. Azar and told him to pass the word, school committee. Mr. Bragger at the Aggie School, and anybody that he wants to bring, whether it's the trustees or commissioners, whoever. So he said, certainly, they're looking forward to it also, so.
Fantastic, good work, good work.
You know, while we're on that subject of dignitaries coming to town, last night, and I'm not criticizing your commercial industrial committee, but that committee invited our representative, Pat Haddad, to come and speak to them and kind of talk to them about what can be done. And none of the selectmen were aware of that when that was happening. Well, I'm not criticizing you. I just want to say that we'll probably put a little memo out or something, but when any dignitary comes to Dayton, I think we all should know as selectmen, so that we can, show our respect by attending or at least greeting the person. So that's all I want to say about that.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something, if you don't mind. We know each other well enough. I did my best to try to put
That's
that
fine.
out there, but
That's-
it was
it's-
under,
It's
I
not,
think we're clearing up the,
it's not a problem.
trying to clear up your flow chart.
Yeah,
that we
right,
have.
right.
Like I said, I'm gonna be
That's
pumping
part of
out.
it, but yeah, I just wanted to make that general statement because
Yeah,
it's,
I
I
didn't
just
want
want,
to fault the chair.
and it's not that anybody here wants to interfere with the committee or step into the committee.
No, that's not-
It's a courtesy, that's normally in government, in the military, and any kind of steps.
Believe me, I was in the Navy, I understand, but I want you to know I would never try to
That's it.
interfere with.
So there was a meeting with
Chain of
the
command.
industrial committee?
Yeah.
Monday.
Yeah, what happened was, we were actually had a discussion at one of our meetings, and they were actually, thought, oh yeah, all right, yeah, why don't you get Pat Representative Haddock?
It's a great idea.
So they're like, they didn't think it would happen, so I happened to know her for a long time, being from Somerset, and I called her up and she put it on her calendar, that's.
No, it was a
Yeah,
great,
it was just,
it was a great meeting, and she
Yeah.
provided a tremendous amount of
Excellent. She
advice and
stayed-
stuff, and
she stayed
So
for
I
a
think
long time.
I think it's great that we can do that. But anyways,
Yeah.
let's move on.
All right,
Uh,
you.
Correspondence? No.
Nobody contacted us?
Cover reports.
I guess we can do this under correspondence, I'll pass this over. I didn't get through all my email today, but I did see this one from Verizon. And the person that sent this to me is the person who has been very, very good about addressing safety issues with utility poles, like we had one leaning on Horton Street. She got it removed like that day. But anyhow, her name is Michelle Cinquagrano. Topic is Verizon Storm Contact. So if you are a Verizon customer, or most of the poles in this town seem to be Verizon, utility poles, to report service-related issues, customers can contact, this is an easy one, 1-800-VERIZON. Or online, you can go to verizon.com, outage, and you can, if you go to the Verizon website, you can find out. But 1-800-VERIZON, if a pole is down or wires, and you don't have to determine whose they are, but if you see a crooked pole or a leaning pole or broken wires, 1-800-VERIZON, because, and you give them the pole number, and they will know if it's their pole or not. But the whole thing is, if they have to get out there, there will be a crew out there. And so this is police, fire, emergency, DPW, the whole thing. But she sent this in, and so I'm just gonna pass this on to Karen, and I just wanted to make everybody aware of it, that with the impending, maybe,
Let's hope not.
hope not,
You can also call National Grid, because they,
Yep,
if
but
generally,
anyhow,
generally
there's
if a Verizon wire comes down,
I,
the electric's coming with it.
yeah, I think she sent that because she's been helping me with some poles that we had, and she took care of them immediately, so.
We have an anonymous
Oh,
donation.
before we move on, this is not a report.
Oh, we gotta do reports.
All three members of the Board of Selectmen attended the Taste of Dayton Monday evening. I'm still full, thank you so much. I just wanted to sincerely thank the Friends of the Dayton Public Library, all the volunteers, the library staff. It's fantastic, I'm really glad it's back. I know we had our,
Great community
we had a
event.
ton of food that we left
It was missed
with.
last year, when we didn't have it, that
Yeah.
was really
Absolutely.
It
missed.
was really a great
Absolutely.
event.
Good vendors, good food.
Good desserts, too.
All I can say is, I didn't get any pie this year from Easiest Pie, it was all gone, but I gotta tell you, you want a knockout blueberry pie, go to Under the
Under
Sun.
the sun.
Wow, talk
Noteworthy.
about, oh, was that delicious.
I think I may have eaten my mom's piece
Did you
that I
get any
got for
of
her.
Boy, the first line I got into was the other pie,
Oh,
because I know they would run out, and that was the longest line. But when I was done with that pie, then I went and got the other pie. And then I eventually got around to having some real food, like a
You were the
chicken.
child who ate the dessert first, weren't you?
Bingo.
I nailed it.
I think Mr. Ferry did that too.
Other
2 pieces of
announcements,
pie.
I'll read them, I'll start them. Trash bags, sharps disposal containers, and recycling stickers are all for sale at the Board of Selectmen's office. Call 508-669-6431 for more information. You can call up and see Karen. There's a vacancy on the Historical Commission, the Land Use Committee, and Capital Outlay Committee.
May I
So-
make an amendment to that? I was approached by the chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals, Mr. Ken Pacheco. They still have a vacancy on the Zoning Board of Appeals. They are working through the limited application that they have. I think they only have one. That was where I started, and I did learn a lot, not only from the job, but also from the members of the board. And it was just a great experience, and I hope anyone watching would strongly consider placing an application and being appointed to the zoning board. It's a really, really good experience to have.
Okay, thank you. The Dayton Historical Society is hosting a psychic fair and craft sale on Saturday, September 23rd. That's this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Taunton Yacht Club at 2125 Water Street in Dayton. Psychic readings are $20 for 20 minutes. You can reserve a craft table space. Call Patty at 508-436-3105. That's Patty at 508-436-3105. The Dayton Lions Club Food Bank distribution will also be this Saturday downstairs in Town Hall between 8 and 9:30 a.m. The Dayton Historical Society will be hosting Tea with Abigail Adams, the wife of John Adams, on Saturday, October 1st, 2017, from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the Friendship Hall of the Dayton Community Church at 2036 Elm Street. There will be a teacup floral arrangement demonstration and discussion of the significance of tea in the colonial period. Tickets are $7. Tickets are available at the Dayton Public Library, Rougeau Farm, and Daffodils. I just got to say, after the last week's meeting, I met a couple neighbors and I said, "Who is Abigail Adams?" And not one of them knew. So, but now I know, and I'm going to read more about her.
Well, you might be able to go to this tea, and maybe instead of giving the lowdown on the importance of the tea, they'll give the importance of Abigail.
I got an announcement here from the Lights On Committee. They met tonight. The Dayton Tree Lighting event, Lights On, will be on Saturday, November the 25th, 2017. That's the Saturday after Thanksgiving. They are seeking donations, monetary donations, to help defray the cost of the event. And I think you all know there's refreshments and there are toys and things of that nature. And anyone wishing to help out, Sue Medeiros, the town clerk, is the chairperson, or I think she's the chairperson, but she's the contact person at Town Hall. And I believe it's Mrs. Fredericks. And let me think, Ray Rose was here, and Mr. Ferry. So they are looking for people to volunteer to be here and help out. And if you volunteer, it doesn't mean you have to come year after year. They need some people who are willing to help out that afternoon, because it starts around 3:30. And I mentioned this before. I'm not going to say exactly what the position is. It's on my Facebook page, but I'm not sure of the age of people who might see this. So I'm going to say to the adults, there is a key female position that needs to be filled. And if you want more information, please contact Sue Medeiros.
I just want to add to the Christmas thing.
That's what we call showing a little leg.
They told me as a selectman I have to get up there and sing, and I want to assure everybody that's not happening.
Hey, we
That
did
would
it.
drive people away. Well,
Hey,
good for you.
we did it.
Hey, and if the
They're not gonna be
if the
enrolling
Bristol
me.
County DA comes, it's gonna be hard not to, you just
Yeah,
mouth
you
the
can't say
check.
no to him.
We have a acknowledgement?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Would you like me to read it?
please do.
Okay. This is to the Dayton Board of Selectmen from Sheila New, our Assistant Program Manager at the Dayton Council of Aging and Primetime Supportive Day Program, Adult Day Program, excuse me, dated September 3rd, 2017. We are pleased to inform you that Primetime has received a donation in the amount of $30. As usual, all donations are turned over to the town account and deposited in the Primetime gift and donations account, excuse me. Should you have any questions or need additional information, please do not hesitate to call.
I make a motion that we acknowledge the donation to Primetime in the amount of $30.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I got a little bit left of reports. From the MMA meeting last Friday, The legislative update, and believe it or not, update included the FY17 budget, which isn't, it's gone, but it's not over. They are continuing to experience shortfalls in tax revenue. That was the problem in 17, it's the problem going into 18. I know there have been budget cuts, I know there have been overrides in the legislature on some of the vetoes, but it's of concern, and it was mentioned at the MMA meeting. The good news is that the funding for Chapter 90, the bond issue,
Which is highway funds.
Chapter 90 highway money, the small bridge program, which comes under that, and the complete streets program, because when they're talking about the tax money not coming in, I'm sitting there thinking, are we gonna get the money we're supposed to? That is not dependent on tax revenue, that's a bond issue. So they sell bonds to fund the program, and then they pay back the bonds. So we were assured that Chapter 90 highway, the complete streets program, and the money that was the program to replace small bridges, that's okay for the coming year. MMA passed out a summary of the revisions that were made to the marijuana law. This was the recreational law. I think the biggest shock was power was taken away from the towns because the legislature eliminated the thing that said cities and towns could determine whether or not they would allow recreational marijuana. And it now reads that if a town allows medical marijuana, they can't prevent recreational marijuana. That's a state decision. I don't know why the state would want that decision, but in any case, there's a whole summary on this. MMA did not take a stand one way or another on the marijuana thing. All they did was summarize this legislation. So if anyone's interested, there's some extra copies you can read.
And I suspect there's a lot more to be said about recreational marijuana before it's all over.
And it's not supposed to take effect until a year, well, it's June, whatever. You know, they promoted all this information about all this tax money we're all gonna get, and I don't know.
You only get tax money if it's not so high and people want to use that service.
I know in
If
Milford
they
yesterday,
de-incentivize it
they
by
had
raising
they
it
had a
too much.
referendum on recreational. I don't know how it came out, but it got a little testy, to say the least.
When are we?
But anyhow, we're all, that was pretty much the meeting that we had. Although I already told you about the public records law and so forth. The other thing was, MMA said the proposal they made to get additional funds for community preservation, that hasn't materialized. The percentage is down, they couldn't get it up,
Okay.
so, but, whatever. Do we have any minutes? I thought, no, we don't have minutes. All right, Mr. Chairman, I move that warrant 12A 18 in the amount of $74,526.53 payroll. Warrant 12B-17 in the amount of $76,027.57. And warrant 12C-17 in the amount of $2,883.30, the last two being house payable, be approved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Oh, on lights on, I just want to mention, DR is working on the replacement of the sleigh and the reindeer. Mr. Ferry had a photograph of the sleigh, so when he's in here, ask to see that photograph of the sleigh. It's gorgeous.
I'm hoping to get a ride in the that redone Santa, the Dayton Express. I'm lobbying hard for that.
Oh, you mean Tuggy?
Tuggy.
Tuggy.
Tuffy. Isn't it Tuffy?
Tuggy.
It is Tuggy.
It's
Okay.
Tuggy. Yeah, I messed up that other one. Don't sign that, I messed it up. It's gotta be reprinted.
Okay,
Are you on the Berkeley board now?
Evidently, going back to my roots.
I apologize for the length of the meeting. We're over where we try to shoot for an hour, but we're a little over that. So anyways, thanks for sticking with us, those of you that have, and we will
I just wanna say